I can be who I wanna be and sexy. I can be who I wanna be and hot. That y'all soup shop. Dun 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 dun. Tequila. I can be who I want to be and sexy. I can be who I want to be and hot. Hey, Queens. Oh no, I'll just put this on. Okay. I can't be who I want. Let's get some likes going in here, and some shares and everything like that, so we can get moving, grooving, slaying, and daying. And then, oh, have we got no? Okay, give me 2 seconds, everyone. Send likes. Get moving. I need to put on my shirt. Ah. Send likes, please. Okay, there we are. I just need to change. There we are. Ah! Okay, I've got 45 minutes. Where did I put my nice jumper? I've got 45 minutes. So, I'm going to get some debates going, hopefully. Thank you so much for the people sending likes. Thank you so much for the people sharing, liking, sending gifts. That boosts the life quite a lot. I appreciate it. Okay. Thank you so much. I love this henna. It was really well done. It was done by Oxford Indian Society. They had a holy ball that I went to, which was really, really good. Insanely good, actually. Really, really fun. So, if you're in Oxford, come to that. Okay, thank you so much for the loves, my love. Okay. I'm finally 20. That I am.
So, pretend expert on military aid. Is that what I understand?
1 second, speaking. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
There we
So
are.
you realize Israel does not get foreign aid; they get military aid, and you're a pretend expert on foreign aid, on military aid. Is that what I understand?
Do I have to be an expert on something to believe that my
Sure.
actually I should have to be an expert on something to believe that my money should go to it, right?
Well, yeah,
Typically,
okay. Well,
typically it works
I
the other way. Someone doesn't get a presumption of having my money.
well, no, that's what tax dollars are for. So there is no presumption of it. It happens. Just like when you take a shit, you need to wipe your ass. It's not a presumption. It's sort of a natural consequence of it. You live in the US, you pay taxes. I will go on a limb and say you probably don't pay much in taxes, so I wouldn't worry too much about your hard-earned pennies going to the government. But the reality is that military aid, 90% of it is spent in this country by Israel. And what you don't realize is the return that U.S. gets from having that type of relationship with Israel. Okay, you paying attention, champ, or am I confusing you?
Mo, do you really believe I haven't heard these talking points before?
Well, it's not a talking point. The fact that you don't like it, or that, based on your lack of wisdom, don't understand it, doesn't make it a simple, meaningless, gratuitous talking point. Brushing your teeth
I
every
didn't
day
say it was
might be
simple or meaningless. It just means,
brushing your
well,
teeth
Mo,
every day
well,
might be a
no,
talking
Mo,
point.
Mo,
Let me
you asked me a
finish.
question.
I'm smarter than you.
No,
You'll let me
I'm not. You
finish.
asked me a question. No, Mo, you asked me a
Brushing your
question. I'm going
teeth
to
every
answer it.
day is a
No,
talking
Mo,
point,
Mo, Mo, Mo,
but
Mo,
it's
Mo.
also
This isn't
very
going to go
effective.
anywhere if you ask a question and don't let me answer it.
Okay. Brushing your teeth every day might be a talking
Mo, this
point,
isn't going to go
but it's
anywhere if you ask me
also,
a question and
no,
don't let
you
me answer it like
listen,
you just did.
listen, whenever you
So it's a
don't,
very
I
basic,
know I tell you things you don't
courtesy of
like to hear.
conversation.
Okay, Corky,
Well,
listen up, Beavis. I know you,
okay, Mo. So
when I,
I'm aware that there are
and
certain
I know what
rules
I'm
for
talking
engaging
about.
on my platform, and if you don't think they're fair, that's your
You know
prerogative,
shit
love.
about Israel.
But I'm going to allow you to have a platform if you
Period.
are able to be
You're a low
respectful
information
and tall if
liberal.
you are able to be respectful and tolerant while doing it.
Well,
Mo,
Soft skulled liberal.
I do have I do have admin ability
Ask me
that
about
you do
Champ.
not have, and this is just going to be really,
About the
really,
watermelon?
really annoying for you and I
It's
until you can control yourself.
you and me.
So let's see how long we can go. How long can we keep doing this, Mo? Is this what you're interested in doing, or do you want to have an actual discussion?
Thanks,
Is that what we want to do?
watermelon
Once we hear a yes that we're going to follow the rules of this live, I'm happy to actually allow you to speak.
export.
Are we going to follow the rules of this live, Mo? You have those moments to speak. Do you have those? Do you want to follow the rules of the live?
You're a low information liberal.
I'm neither low information nor am I a liberal.
You are low.
Mo, do you want to have a conversation?
But I will tell you that. Let me say something to you, and then
Mo, do you want to have a conversation? Otherwise, you're not welcome on this live.
something to you.
Do you want to have a conversation? I need a yes.
Explain.
I need a yes from you, Mo.
Yes. Thank you for boosting Israeli
Okay,
watermelon
okay, Mo. So the
exports.
first thing is
Are you aware
you
that
no. So
watermelon
Mo,
exports have
you okay? I'm
exploded?
going to need a genuine yes. The first rule is you're going to have to let me respond to the question that you asked.
Exploded.
Right? So the first thing you're going to have to do is let me respond to the question that you asked.
Impressive how little.
Does that make sense, Mo? Does that make sense?
Disregard my last question.
Mo, does that make sense?
New question for you.
Mo, does that make sense?
I'm going to ask you a new. I'm going
Mo, does that make sense?
to miss
Mo, does that make sense?
a question now. Are you
Mo, does that make sense? Can you say yes?
Yes. Answer this.
Okay, and so when you say yes,
Try
that
to
means
answer
you
this
give me the
question.
opportunity, and that means you give me the opportunity to respond to the
You're,
question.
you're scared of me. I get it.
Are you capable? No, I'm not scared of you. Are you capable
Yeah,
of
you
allowing me to
are
answer the question?
not interested in your
I'm interested in having a two-way discussion,
chew
and
with
you're
your
not interested in allowing me to speak. So
with your.
I'm gonna need you to give me a yes and then stop speaking. Can you do
Yes.
that?
Now, are you aware about watermelon
Nope.
extension?
It's a yes and then a stop speaking.
Pay attention now.
It's a. We're gonna keep going.
Pay attention.
Mm.
Mm.
You know what you need to do to be offered a platform here. Are you
Are you
willing to
aware
do it?
Islam is a shit religion?
No, it's really, really easy rules.
On an airplane? I suspect no. I suspect you can't find the Middle East on a map. And do you know what Israeli melon imports have done in the last few months? They've exploded because of moron.
There we are. If you're not able to have a conversation, you're not welcome to have a debate on my live mail. I
Hello.
was waiting for someone that could maybe have an actual debate with me. What did you send a guest request to disagree on?
Hi. No disagreement here. I just have a quick question regarding the topic. I don't. Okay, so I know that Israel is like not not good in this war. Um, but I wanted to ask like what your opinion is and like why you think it's. Cause I've been trying to see both sides, but I only seem. Um, I'm sorry, I have COVID, so it's sounding so bad. But I've only seen like the Palestinian side and like not really heard the Israeli side, but from what I'm hearing, it's um, pretty much common sense, from what I'm hearing. But I don't know. What? I'm sorry, I can barely hear you.
Asking. Um, let's see. Can you speak for a second?
Yes.
There we
Hello.
are. Okay. Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There we are. Um, I don't. What's? Can you ask the specific question in like one sentence?
Yeah. What's your side? What's your opinion on the whole
This is my
topic?
opinion.
Okay. Can I ask why?
Because I don't think that Israel deserves our money. because they're committing a genocide against the Palestinians.
Okay. Well, I can look this up. I just figured that I would like to hear it from someone who has like knowledge off of the topic without like kind of having to interpret like my own. I don't know, but that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. Peace. If you disagree with me, send a guest request. If you don't disagree with me, don't send a guest request. I'll only be back for like 30 minutes, Queens. That's why if you want to disagree with me, then send a guest request. I'm gonna give y'all like, I don't know. I need to run and get water. Thank you so much. It's not a personal invite. It's not a personal compliment because someone else did it. If I had the person who did its name, I would give it to you. But oh, okay. Mo didn't ask a question, bro. At the very least, he did. Oh, you do support Israel. Okay.
Yo, hello?
Hello.
I'm sorry.
Hi, what'd you send a guest request to disagree about?
I don't really have anything to disagree about. It's just
You said you support Israel in comments, and then you come up and say you don't have anything to disagree about. I don't like liars, and also I don't want to speak to a child. I would typically let a Palestinian up here, but you lied. Oh. You also misspelled that slur, love. Hello.
Hey, man. Just wanted to see if you could answer the Mo raised some points, and I was interested to hear how you would have answered if he was able to comply with the rules.
Yeah, what specific point do you want to raise?
Saying $4 and things like that.
Yeah, I don't think he made a real cogent point. He said they're tax dollars. Yeah, no shit. He said I wasn't an expert. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, I like yes. To the statements of fact he made. Yes. I don't really know what else he was making. He was saying yeah, because they're tax dollars, they just immediately go to Israel. No. Obviously not true. I'm a voter. I'm an American citizen. That's all it takes for me to be deserving of an opinion on this matter because they're, my country's monies. And instead of debating the merits of the point, whether we should spend money, he just attempted to disqualify me because of, I don't know, my presumed income, which he doesn't know about. And I guess any relational issue to the fact that they're tax dollars is if me being an American citizen isn't enough to comment on how those tax dollars he used.
Right. Do you think that there's benefit to supporting Israel as far as in the Middle East against some of the enemies in the Middle East?
Yeah, I think it's beneficial to America in many, many ways. My argument isn't that it's not beneficial to America. My argument that is that it's beneficial to America in the same way that South Africa was beneficial to England.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's an expanse of an empire. Of course it's beneficial to the home country. They can exploit and profit off of it. But in order to subsist an empire, you must oppress people, especially one that's based on ethnicity, especially a proxy state like Israel is based off, ethnic religion, or ethnic religion. So I don't doubt that it benefits the imperial core. I just don't think that everything that it benefits the imperial core is good.
Right, but wouldn't it be worse off to be an ally with Palestine for USA?
Worse off in what way? For what? I don't.
In terms of the strategic interests of the United States, the economy, national security interests.
I mean, that's not the claim I'm making here. I'm not saying that supporting Israel makes us less safe. It could. That could be the discussion. I'm saying us supporting Israel is immoral and we ought not do it, despite possible benefits towards us. But also, I'm not suggesting we become an ally of Palestine. I'm not suggesting we use Palestine as a further proxy state, right? I'm suggesting that we get the fuck out and possibly do some intervention to right some wrongs, right? Help nation build, help set up institutions, but I'd much prefer Palestine become an Arab trustee state of some form, right? And then, yeah.
Israel is one of the oldest allies of the United States. Has helped the United States in the past. Don't you think if what you said, get the fuck out and basically not be an ally with them, or be sort of turning the back on an ally?
We've turned our backs on allies, and Israel's turned their backs on treaties with us. They turned their backs on the Oslo Accords. They said it themselves, right? They turned their backs on a two-state solution. Israel doesn't have respect for treaties, so why should we?
Well, I mean, that could have happened, but the gist of it is that Israel shouldn't, Israel is an important ally in the Middle East. So turning the back on Israel, even though for morality reasons, but that has to be balanced with the strategic interests. So why are you balancing morality in terms of national security and strategic interests?
I'm making an argument from morality. All arguments in politics are from morality. If you want to say that the detriment to American interests is so great, right, and harms American citizens, for example, to such a great extent that that harm outweighs the obvious and continued structural harm of the maintenance of the current state of Israel, you could run that argument. You'd be wrong, right? But what it seems is y'all seem more intended to, and by y'all Zionists, Zionist apologists, is to say, well, it benefits America at all, right? So why would an American not want to support it? Well, I don't think we should do everything that benefits America, right? It is not enough to say that it benefits America to suggest that we should do it. That's not enough. It needs to benefit America and also not imminently harm people and also imminently be justified, right? It benefited Britain to engage in the transatlantic slave trade. It benefited Britain to colonize most of the world, right? That didn't justify it. It actually made Britain a hell of a lot safer. It encouraged Scotland to join Britain, right? So many ways that we could say England became a lot safer and a lot better and a lot wealthier because of the exploitation under imperialism. The fact that the host country or the imperial core gets better and gets richer or gets safer on the backs of their imperialization is not justification enough.
I think that's a good point, but I also think that you may be overlooking a little bit the importance of terms of allies, especially democratic institutions. Israel is the only democratic country in the Middle East, and from that, the reason I say that is more stability. So democratic countries are usually more stable. So for the purposes of stability and to ally with a stable country, it makes more sense than some of the other non-state countries, which are the authoritarian regimes that USA is not allying with.
Really? What about Jordan, who they're allied with? Which
They're
is a
allied
monarchy.
Well, they're to a certain degree, but I think there's also
like Jordan is one of the largest intelligence central hubs in the Middle East for America interests.
Okay, I didn't know too much about Jordan. I know Israel is.
What about Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, so exactly. So
what about the UAE?
Those are like
Qatar?
sort of those are middle allies, but those countries are also allying with Palestinian interests as well.
I mean, famously, the UAE turned their backs on the Palestinians when they recognized Israel.
And so, and in the Middle East, largest threat to USA and to obviously to Israel, number one, but also to USA is Iran. And Iran has threatened nuclear weapons to destroy Israel.
And why did Iran move away from being a democratic country?
I don't know the history for that.
It seems really important because the reason a strong institution of democracy that was leaning towards a secular democracy in Iran was overthrown was because of U.S. meddling, We overthrew a democratically elected leader in Iran. Fair enough, he was bad, but that is what ultimately led to the failing of the Iranian structure. When you talk about stability, America is not supporting stability in the Middle East. America and Western allies are actively and institutionalizing and actively working to to institutionalize chaos and instability in the Middle East. That's why they supported the foundation of Kuwait, because it denied Iraq more deepwater ports. And surprise, surprise, we used the one deepwater port we gave Iraq to invade it. We designed the Middle East to be unstable. Where in the world do you think further American support and American meddling is going to make the Middle East more stable, when everything we have ever done has been oriented specifically to making them unstable?
A little bit more stable. I think you can go. Okay. There is U.S. has some allies, but the strongest allies obviously Israel, due to the stability from the democratic nature of its government. So
The
that's
instability in Jordan is why they're allies with us. You realize that, right?
what do you mean by that?
The reason Jordan is cucked into supporting America is because the people don't support the Jordanian monarchies, and Israel and America is exploiting that, right? Because they can't support themselves because their people don't support them, so they need foreign country and foreign support to maintain control of the natural resources to economically control the region, right? Like, America will use whatever, and the reason Israel is reliant on America is because of the instability in the region that threatens Israel's national security. Instability is why America has control in this area. Military would matter a whole lot less if the area was stable.
All right, so that's a good point. But let me ask you this then about stability. We're discussing stability now. You can say that, let's say from Gaza, as far as the government there, being the H group. What if it was you can argue somewhat of an unstable governing entity? What if Gaza had a more stable, moderate governing entity that would be less risky for Israel, less risky for USA? Wouldn't that be a good path towards peace?
Yeah, they did. It's called the PLO, bro. And you know what Israel called the PLO? Terrorist organization. And you know what they funded to get rid of the PLO? The thing that later became the H group, right? At the time, sections of the Muslim Brotherhood. They explicitly did this. Israel made the problem worse, right? Actually, the Brigade General of Gaza at the time explicitly said that they were funding Muslim jihadists in the area as a, quote, counterbalance to the PLO. The PLO was a mainly secular coalition of resistance fighters. They explicitly off-centered the governing body that later did send Yasser Arafat was PLO, right? Who said, okay, we'll accept a two-state solution. They moderated their stance. They wanted to work with Israel, right? Israel did everything in their power to destabilize the PLO, attack the PLO. When the PLO went to the UN asking for a recognition of two-state solution, they called the PLO terrorists and threat to their national security. Israel doesn't want this, right? It's really clear they don't want this. We can't pretend like the problem is instability in Gaza when Israel's actively working towards instability in Gaza. It's not to say it's the only reason, but if we're talking about this as two parties, right, we can't pretend like Israel's like Gaza's just magically becoming unstable when they have a pretty damn powerful neighbor that's working really hard to make it that way.
So if it was more stable, and let's say they did send more people for working, more trust was trying to be developed, etc. So just working towards stability, wouldn't that be in the interests of Israel as far as, they're more trustworthy of their neighbor, and then they could slowly, decrease their occupation and just work towards a trust. So I think the point I'm trying to make is, instead of the very violent armed resistance, which is sort of a not stable entity, with a more stable force. Now, the difference within PLO is nobody's really supporting PLO as far as the Palestinians. But if there was another group with more stronger leadership that was more moderate and more stable.
Well, that was the PLO in the 1970s. Like, that's what they were. They were moderate, and they had huge support from the Palestinians. Israel still attacked them. The issue is Israel doesn't want that. If you take them at their fucking word, right? Israel wants a one-state solution. Netanyahu has said that he wants a greater Israel. That includes actually the Sinai, includes parts of Syria, includes parts of Lebanon, right? He wants a greater Israel. He wants a one-state solution. He's not. when they talk about this, they talk in language of we just what peace we it's only Hamas blank blank and blank. But then once they're away from that, once they're talking to Israelis, when they're speaking, right, not in English to an international audience, they say what they want and they make it pretty clear. For the past 10, 15 years, right, the far right government of Israel has wanted a one-state solution. They're very clear about this. So as long as that extremist, terroristic government is in power in Israel, right, and I don't think that represents most Israelis, right, but I do think it's endemic of the Israeli state, and I do think that that is a terroristic view, that is a non-humanitarian view, and that is people that a peaceful yet less powerful Palestine simply will not be able to negotiate with. So all the language that we use when we're talking about negotiating with the H group or negotiating with PLO because they're violent, I don't see why it doesn't apply to Netanyahu and his government, right? Because they believe in a one-state solution. They believe in full Israeli rule. They don't believe in the right of the Palestinians to live there. For the past, up until November, they wouldn't even utter the word Palestinian, right? They wouldn't say that Palestinians existed. They are fucking racist. They're not people to be negotiated with, right? If we can avoid it at all costs, the first step is to make the Palestinians powerful enough, and that involves America backing off, right, first of all, to even the playing field so that we can actually go to the table. Because as long as Israel is 10 times more powerful than Palestine, right, Israel will take all they want from Palestine because that's what they want. If we want to talk about how we moderate Israel, we can have that discussion. But the discussions can't start with moderating Palestine. We know what's aggravating Palestine. And we know that that would happen to damn right about everyone.
Yeah, so I would agree that both parties would need to be more moderate. Obviously, any extremist view is not going to be able to come to a proper deal. But when you said like 10, 15 years, did you specifically say that? Because obviously 2005, Israel did make a step towards leaving Gaza. So that
19 years ago?
Right. So it's because that would be like, if you're saying, would that be an exception to what you're saying? Because that does show that they're not actually.
Was that 10 and 15 years ago?
State? Yeah, it was. But was
No,
is
it
that
wasn't.
well, 2005, 2006, 20 years ago? Okay. So that would be
But
the
also,
exception.
yeah, I also believe the moving out of Gaza was due to a huge series of reasons, but it was due to fucking racist reasons as well. One of their stated reasons for moving out of Gaza and taking all the Jewish encampments out was because they didn't view annexation as a viable option anymore, because they didn't want to have the obligation or the possible obligation in the future to incorporate Gaza into Israel proper, and therefore incorporate 2 million, primarily Arab Palestinians into their area. It was to maintain the ethno-state. They said this expressly. Maintenance of the occupation within Gaza threatened the ethno-demographic state of Israel. So, I mean, they were still fucking racist. But yeah, they also succumbed to international pressure to do that.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that one. But in a way, if that's true, so what you're saying is they don't want to integrate Gaza for those reasons. Wouldn't that be sort of their intention going forward? It would cause the same difficulty going forward.
Not if they kill them all.
Not if exactly, but what if they didn't?
Which is what they're trying to do. Or if they expel all of them, which is what they're explicitly saying, right? That's our whole point, is either they're trying to kill all the Palestinians, genocide, or they've actually admitted this. They said, hey, Egypt should take them all. They're just trying to ethnically cleanse them. So yeah, this is the thing, is when you're trying to take land and you're an ethno-state and you require everyone to be of the same ethnicity or of a majority ethnicity, right? There are two options. You take the land and you kick all the people from another ethnicity out, ethnically cleanse them, you kill them, right? Or you don't take the land at all. Obviously, Israel wants to take the land, right? Eventually, that's why they've been ghettoizing the West Bank. That's why they've been taking the bits from Syria, right? On the, oh God, I forget the name of it. That's why they've been attacking the Gaza Strip. They've said this much. Right. That's why they've said that they see no future without a full Israeli control of Gaza within the immediate future. So, no, they do have options here. And you're right. If the facts were the same, if they were still majority Arab or whatever, yeah, they would face the same issue with Gaza. But that's why we're saying they're trying to ethnically cleanse them. It follows exactly with what they've been saying about their own goals.
Right. So I think. I mean, there's two ways to look at it. One is we can sort of assume that that's what the, but it's not. I don't think it's clear cut as maybe you might think. For instance, anytime there's a war, people are fleeing, there's bombings and things like that, they do have a duty to protect the civilians. So by suggesting that they go to Egypt, that would be their duty to protect the civilians. So that could be another way to look at
Why
it.
don't you let them flee to Israel?
They could do that too. Would you?
But no, but they haven't. They've said explicitly under no circumstances will they take Palestinian refugees, but they're condemning Egypt for not taking them. What's the only
All right, fair
difference?
enough. It's just look. It's just costs involved with obviously taking refugees, but at cost and security interests and things like that. As opposed, so there is other considerations to think about.
Yeah, I think the main consideration they're thinking about is they're fucking Arab, because there are also costs involved with taking immigrants that are Jewish, and yet they take hundreds of thousands of Jewish immigrants. Crazy, right?
Security interest, though.
Oh, there we go. That seems to be the difference, doesn't it? Is they view Palestinians as a security interest, but they view literally all Jews as not a security interest. A security interest.
You don't think there is some legitimacy to that argument, because there's more. If you just look at the numbers, obviously there might be
Look at the
some
numbers.
people-
Israelis have killed 10 times more than Palestinians have.
I'm saying from a threat, there's much more of a threat that, let's say there's an S bomber, that would be somebody that from Palestinian than an S bomber from somebody that's Jewish.
In Israel, yes. But if we look at terrorism in Palestine, because, Palestinian lives exist, then Jewish people, right, and primarily Israelis, are the ones committing terrorism via the IDF. It just happens to be under the name of the IDF. So,
Right, but
and also, are you saying you can do a proper background inspection on a random American or a random Moroccan Jew, but you can't do a proper background inspection on a Palestinian, and they're not even offering to?
I'm just saying, like you said, why not take all the refugees into Israel? I'm just saying the cost plus the additional screening and all the threats, and so Egypt.
You realize that's not even their excuse, right, David? You know why they say it. You know, like what Netanyahu says.
Right? About this, what does he say?
He says it's an ethno-demographic threat.
Okay, so I mean, I don't agree with that one, but there's
so the thing is like, yeah, there could be maybe, like, if we really just looked at their actions, maybe there are other explanations of their actions, blank, blank, and blank. Yeah, but then they kind of, jump the gun and say, yeah, we're just fucking racist. It's a threat to our majority Jewish country, right? We're not accepting these refugees. We're keeping them in the place they are, because they're Palestinians. Yeah, that's why they threaten our ethnic state. I think that's ethnic cleansing.
Right, but I think the other perspective is it's undisputed, I think, that there is some people that are going to want to have revenge on Israel from Palestinian side. So,
but it's nothing to do with their ethnicity. That's the thing. You could do a background check on them. There are Jews that, like, there's no reason that you can't radicalize a Jewish person. Right? Fear of terrorism is from across the board. Right? We do background checks on refugees, and we do background checks on, like, immigrants. Like, the thing is they're not even offering it. For example, people make the same genuinely idiotic argument for Nakba refugees. Right? Right of return refugees. Oh, they're dangerous. Well, no. They're just people, right? And they have a personhood, and they have a history that you can look into in the same way that you can look into, a random Jewish person's place. And also, guess what? The Nakba refugees that were Jewish, they let back in. The literal only difference is that they are Palestinian. And so what you are saying is because they are Palestinian, on that fact alone, they are more dangerous. And that is just racism. Right, that is just racism. It has nothing to do with reality, because you're not looking into the actual individual reality. It is just racism.
You could say it like that, but also obviously the statistics would be different. But that's one other topic. I was going to ask, because you're taking an issue with ethno-fascist states or ethno-states. So is that like, in your opinion, then? Is it ever proper to have any country that's an ethno state, or should all countries be multicultural?
Yeah, I believe all people only deserve a multi-ethnic secular democracy. I mean, I guess by happenstance you could end up with a mono-ethnic country, right? But it still wouldn't be an ethno-state, right? I don't believe in ethno-states. So I don't think the duality is between like multicultural and multi-ethnic and like and ethno-state, because an ethno-state is merely like how the state apparatus engages with ethnicities. So yeah, no, I don't believe in any ethno-states.
Okay. Because there are a lot of countries out there, obviously Christian majority countries, and
But
uh,
what is a Christian ethno-state?
just
There are some maybe, but could you point me to them?
um,
Also, Christianity isn't an ethnicity. You're talking about a theocracy,
just let's say, I don't know, maybe Italy or
not an
Italy's
ethno-state.
okay.
Yeah,
It's just majority
Vatican
Christian,
City would be the best example, right? But that's a theocracy, not an ethno-state.
right? Similarly, some of the Arab, Muslim, Middle Eastern countries sort of have the same type of ethno states as far as their
Yeah, and we don't like that.
right, right. But don't you think then, if you don't like that, then similarly, if Palestine was free, then in all likelihood it would become very similar to an ethno state as well.
Not in a one-state solution.
Okay, so you're a proponent of one state.
I believe in a two-state solution in the interim, and then a one-state solution in the long term,
Okay.
with constitutional protections, kind of like Lebanon. But we could try a little harder than we did in Lebanon. You know, we kind of gave up on Lebanon. We don't love that, but obviously we know who we want to win in Lebanon, right? So we can do the same thing. Yeah, but in a one-state solution with constitutional protections for minorities.
I understand. I understand your viewpoint like that. I just think, given all the history, all the conflict in the past, it's it seems like it would be very difficult for that to happen.
I mean, it existed up until 1948. This place was never partitioned prior to that, unless you really want to go back into biblical times.
Right.
Under the
But
Ottoman Empire was united, and there was ethnic violence, but there was notably less ethnic violence than there is now.
true. But the world is so much different from 1948 to now.
When else was it partitioned, loves? Sorry, comments coming after me. I know, like, really far back like it changed hands quite a lot. Yeah. But there was never such like there was never an ethnic one. There was a Jewish. There were some like Muslim majority places, right? But it wasn't partitioned. It was controlled by one ethnicity or the other. The closest you would maybe get was when Judea stood and the Kingdom of Israel didn't stand. But anyway, under the Ottomans was together. But anyway, the world has changed, right? And maybe partition was the right answer in 1948, but isn't now. You know,
Right.
we've eclipsed that period of history where partition is a good idea. Ah,
But I mean, in history, you look at, people are always complaining about colonization, etc. But that seems to be much of human history was all about colonization, taking land and wars and things like that. And even World War One, for instance, was really about majority about colonization as well, and that's what the World War was about. But that was over 100 years ago. I think most of those kind of things are a thing of the past, where most territories in the world are sovereign by this point. At that point, it was arguably still up for grabs. So I think now it's just a little bit of a different situation than it was in the past, as far as the narratives about colonization. I think people
exactly.
are
And now the standard for a state is a secular, multi-ethnic democracy, right? Like we've kind of stopped this balkanization bullshit. Even if we do balkanize because of ethnic differences, right? We did it in South Sudan, Kosovo. We're going to do it in Bougainville, right? Or Bougainville? Is it Bougainville? That's a wild name for a country. We still expect them to be a multi-ethnic democracy with protections for minorities, right? That's still the expectation of them.
yeah. I also agree with. I see your sort of your stance on this now. I feel it's a good moral stance. But I think just in all the circumstances, a little bit idealistic, not fully realistic, because I believe that is probably, like you say, they want their own, and I think there are a lot of Palestinian voices that I heard that they're also proponents for having their own, free Palestine, all the ways.
Free Palestine, from the river to the sea, is a one-state solution. You realize that, right?
Well, it depends, right? It depends on who you ask. So
I
it's
don't think
not.
anyone. No, it's a one state, or at least two states, both of which are multi-ethnic democracies.
I think it's subject to interpretation. It's not a clear statement, right?
I
Free
don't know
Pal-
how you could interpret it such that in one, Palestinians are not free under an
the
Israeli
words free
ethnic
Palestine.
democracy, or an Israeli ethno-state, and in the other one they're not.
I think the Free Palestine slogan, it's a good slogan, but it could mean so many different things to so many different people, and I don't think
But
it's
no,
ever
I'm
been.
talking from the
We
river
don't
to the
really know
sea.
where. All right, from the river to the sea. That's also one that it's hard to. People can interpret that in different ways, and so
But that's
it
like
was
the
just a
whole
slogan that sounds
territory of Israel-Palestine. That's the whole point, isn't it?
right. But some people can interpret it that you want all the Jewish people to leave.
Yeah, and they'd be wrong, right? No one means that.
Well, some people do. So that's the issue is that it's like it's not clear cut,
Of
and
course,
then people
wait,
can.
from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. There are Jewish Palestinians. Not a single sane person thinks that they want the Jewish Palestinians to leave Palestine, right?
I think, yeah,
Some people
true.
say that
But
it means they
what
want the
about?
Israelis to leave, right? And yeah, I don't agree with that, right?
Okay,
But
right.
in no interpretation do they say, "Oh, even the Jewish Palestinians should leave." There are also to the people saying there are Jewish Palestinians, idiots, idiots. Everyone, even Israel says there are Jewish Palestinians. That's their whole entire claim to being there. But anyway,
Right. You know what, Will, I'll tell you this. So the way I see your positions on this, so you're obviously American, you have good background, good knowledge of this topic, but I think what's going on is some of the because you're not necessarily, I don't think you're Palestinian, right? So you don't have that emotional thing to this whole topic. You're looking at it from viewpoints, but I believe that some of the people that are truly trauma, they it's a little bit different, and so because of that, I think they do want all the Israelis to leave, and so that's kind of the
but that's
issue.
different than all the Jews leaving. I agree, and I disagree with that, right? But that's different than all the Jews leaving, once again, because Palestinian Jews exist.
Yeah, and also Palestinian or slash Arab Israelis exist as well.
Yes.
So they already have, Israel already has a lot of 25% or so are Arab.
Yes, but that
Uh,
wasn't the point.
okay.
The point was that no interpretation of from the river to the sea, at least those words alone, right, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, means that all the Jews would leave. I agree that it could be interpreted in an anti-Semitic way. I think vast majority of people don't mean it that way, but I can understand how it could be interpreted that way. From the river to sea, Palestine will be free. No Israel, no Jewish people, no like Jewish Israelis. Cool. That's anti-Semitic. I don't agree with that. But there's no interpretation where someone's like, "Oh, this includes kicking out all the Palestinian Jews as well." What?
Right.
How?
But
What? Like no one. You don't even think you could read it that way, right?
Right, but I think if you look at the root of the whole issue, it's the question is there are some people out there of Palestinian ethnicity that do view that Israel has no right to do what they did originally, so they want to reverse the whole thing.
Yes, Israel had no right to do what they. I agree with that. Israel
So
had
they
no
want
right
to,
to do what they did originally. Absolutely, they're fucking terrorists.
right, but like, is it realistic though, after so many years, to reverse and go back to
But
how it was?
those are different questions. Were they entitled in doing what they did originally? What can we do about it now?
Right. Okay. So
Those are
what we,
different questions.
but from the river to the sea, sort of a statement or a slogan.
They're saying this is the practical solution.
What we can do about it now.
Okay, I've got to run. But thank you for coming up, David. Prish. Peace out. Thank you, everyone, slaying and serving. I've got to run because I'm going to a friend's gig thing. I don't know. Okay. Follow me on YouTube if you want more content. It's linked in my bio. If you don't already follow. Let's go.